Hi everyone, and welcome back to Creative Chelsea. Today I am using the Tropical Oasis suite from Stampin' Up to create this beautiful card. One of the techniques we'll be using today will be exploring how to use the watercolor pencils just to color in the images without using water. So we're kind of using them just like regular colored pencils. So I really love this suite. I think the colors are gorgeous together, and you've got some really fun papers. And so here are all the paper patterns in the designer series paper. And so we're going to be using those as a background to our images. And then we're also using the stamp set and dies, and those come in a bundle. And when you purchase those together, you can get 10% off. So let's go ahead and do our stamping and coloring for this card. So we'll be stamping all of our images and our greeting with soft suede ink. And I've got a quarter sheet of paper, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm hoping all my images will fit in on this paper. So go ahead and ink up your images. I'm starting with the large flower. I'm giving it some good pressure. I've got one of those. Then I'm doing 2 small flowers. And then 2 of the leaf image that is part of the stamp set. And then last will be the greeting. And it's "May your birthday be memorable." But you could use any of the greetings that are in the stamp set. Okay. So now we're going to be using the watercolor pencils to fill in these images. And I'm going to start with the larger one. And this flower, I want to have more of those pink red tones. So I'm going to gather all of my pencils that kind of fit in that color range. So I've got Rich Razzleberry, Real Red, Melon Mambo, and Calypso Coral. Now I am adding a little bit of yellow and a little bit of orange as well. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to start with the darker of those colors, and that is the Rich Razzleberry, and I'm going to add that to the center, and I'm just going to move that color from the center out. Now there are some areas that are they have no shading in them from the stamp, and I'm going to leave those without color right now. We're going to add the lighter pink to those areas. So these color pencils or watercolor pencils are really smooth and lay down some really nice color. So just kind of bring that color out just a little bit so you don't have just a straight line of color. Okay, so we're going to move to the next color, and I'm going to use a little bit of the Real Red. And that's just to brighten up that color slightly. So I'm not adding it all over, just to a couple of those little, just kind of to bring it up into this, like the shadow areas. Okay, next we'll do Melon Mambo. And this is going to kind of be our dark pink that we're going to use in these shadows. So go ahead and add those to all of the little shadow areas from the ink when the stamp is applied. And you can also add that to the base. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is just a light calypso coral over the whole flower. So just keep this really light. You're just kind of blending all those colors together. Just kind of keep it, you want it moving in kind of a circular, linear motion. Whoops. Whoops. Try to blend in any of those little bit of lines you might get. So I think I forgot to mention that we are working on a very vanilla cardstock. So I didn't want it to be too bright, working with the Whisper White cardstock. And so that's kind of why we're going with something a little more muted to kind of go along with the theme of Timeless Tropical. So just remember, keep this last color really light. You're just kind of blending everything together. Now my original card, I used more yellow in the petals, and then when I put it all together, I realized I wanted this larger flower to be more pink. And so that's why I'm going with more pink on this card. So go ahead and give some really deep yellow to the middle of this flower. And then if you want just kind of to add a little bit of yellow, you can just go in right here in the middle and just add just a slight bit of yellow to that center of that flower. Just to brighten up those leaves a little bit, or the petals just slightly. Okay. And then the middle, we're just going to do the orange coming right down from there. Nice and bright so you can see it. So there's our flower. It has lots of dimensions with lots of different layers of color. So now we're going to go ahead and work on the two small ones. And this one is mostly just done with yellow and orange. And my yellow is Daffodil Delight and my orange is Pumpkin Pie. So start with the orange and you're just kind of bringing out that orange in the center of the petal. Stay away from this area that has no ink in it. We're going to actually not color that area at all, and that's going to just be the cardstock color. So then you're going to use the Daffodil Delight, and you're actually just going to outline this petal. So just bring in a little bit where that the ink is, shadow of the ink, and then outline that top of that petal. So the nice thing about using Very Vanilla is it's kind of got that creamy look, and so we don't really need to add too much color to these flowers. So a little bit in the center to blend that orange in, and then right along that top edge without coming down into this area here. Okay, and then the same for your second one. So this flower is pretty quick, simple to add the color. Okay, all right, so there is this flower. So this flower is a very yellow, orange, pale kind of color. And so just giving a little bit of color to that stamped image really helps it feel more realistic. So now let's do the leaves. So the only green I've got in this pack is Old Olive. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of blue and a little bit of gray to this leaf to kind of help it stand out. So just go ahead and start filling in the whole leaf with your Old Olive. You can try to keep it light so that you can have some darker areas. Okay, so then to make things darker, just give a little more pressure and kind of follow that, the veining from the leaf. There we go. And then do the second, lightly fill in the whole leaf. And then darken up those veins. Okay, so if you want to add just a little bit of color, you can just go in there with this blue and lightly add some color to some of those shadow areas, just to kind of give it a little more dimension to the color. And then if you also wanted to add some gray, you can. I think I'm good with just that little bit of blue added to the leaf. So we've got we have two colors because we did both light and dark pressure with our old olive, and then we've added just a little bit of the Pacific Point watercolor pencil. Okay, so now that we've got all of our coloring done, the next step would be to cut them out with the In the Tropics dies. And so that gives us all the shapes for these stamped images. So then for the greeting, I'm going to be using this label die that comes from the Painted Labels die set that is part of the Painted Poppies bundle. And I just really like these two different labels that it comes with. I think they're beautiful. So we'll just go ahead. We're going to line up these dies, and I am going to add a little bit of tape to them so that they don't move around. So remember that just kind of turn things until you can see that they match. And then when you're adding the tape, you want to make sure that it goes on the outside of your image and it doesn't cover any other images. And the reason for that is so that you don't accidentally pull off any of your coloring. All right. Let's do this one up here. And then a little bit for our greeting. Okay. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, take this to my Big Shot, and cut out everything, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut those out, and now we can put our card together. So I've got a base of Blushing Bride cardstock, and I just really liked that as a soft pink. It kind of pulls from the DSP that I'm using, and it's got this little pink background with the leaves, palm leaves. And this piece is 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and that's just gonna go down on the right. And then I've got this other piece of these designer series paper from the packet, and I'm using the green side, and this is 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And they're just going to go on top of, the green one's going to cover slightly the leaf when leaving a slight border of pink on both right and left sides. All right, whenever I have two pattern papers or even a pattern paper and cardstock meeting, I sometimes want to cover up that seam with ribbon or some sort of border so that it doesn't feel so harsh. I'm going to be using the braided burlap trim, and we're going to be cutting two pieces that are 5 inches in length. And the reason we're going just a slightly smaller in length than the card is because I want to have two ends showing in the area. So I'm just going to fray both sides of the strips, and that's just going to provide some extra texture. I'm going to place in the center some liquid glue, and then one of my pieces, they're going to go at the top and just slightly covering that edge between the two pieces, and then the second piece is going to go at the bottom and covering those two pieces. And so they're going to meet in the center, and you can see that we've got now two different heights and textures as kind of playing on each other here in the center where those meet. So I really like that look. Okay, so now we're going to add our images, and we're just going to kind of layer them to get on the burlap, and we're going to be using the some liquid adhesive, and this is the best adhesive to use when adding things to this ribbon. So I'm going to start with a leaf, and that's just going to go near the top, so don't cover this nice texture up here, and you're just going to add that pointing to the left, and then add another little bit of glue, and you're going to add one of these yellow flowers. Let me go this way. Okay, so next we're going to add another one of the flowers underneath the ribbon, or whatever we want to call it. So add a little bit of glue, and then that's just going to slide in under the ribbon, and it can come close to the edge if you want. We just want it to be under the yellow flower on top and under that ribbon. So our greeting is going to kind of be about here. We're not going to lay that down yet, and so we're going to put our larger flower about here. So you'll notice that we just have a little bit here on the ribbon, and then these 3 petals are off, and so we're going to need to add some dimensionals to those 3 petals. So flip it over, grab some dimensionals, add some to those 3 petals, and then possibly one here in the center just for support. We'll do the glue after we take these off. And then just add a little bit of glue right on those other petals where they're going to be over the burlap trim. And then you can do this at a slight angle if you'd like, and just put that down there. Now this leaf is going to come down, and we're just going to add that to the paper underneath the larger flower. Okay. So one of the elements that I like about this card are these little touches of gold. So we've got some of the gold pearls, gold and silver pearls that are in the main catalog. And then I do have some gold metallic thread. Now this is a retired item. Right now they're only selling the silver and rose colored. You could use the rose for this project because we are using that pink. And so if you don't have the gold, then definitely use that rose to kind of add a little bit of interest to your greeting. And the way I'm going to use this, I'm going to wrap it around my hand about 5 times or so, and then just lay it on the back of the greeting. So let's go ahead and add some adhesive to the back here, and that will give me somewhere to add a little bit of this gold metallic thread. Wherever it begins. Okay, there it is. So I'm just going to hold it and wrap around my 4 fingers about 5 times, and then you can just tear it, gather those threads together, and then add them to the back of your card. And then if you want, you can kind of fluff them up a little bit so that they're not just stacked right on top of each other. You're just going to kind of pull them, give them a little bit of interest. And then this gets added to your card. And I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue here in the center, and then maybe a dimensional over here on the right, just to support that side. Okay, and our last element would be these gold pearls. And these are called the metallic pearls. And they're in the main catalog, so you can go ahead and get some of those if you don't have them. And I'm just using 3 with my pickup tool, and I'm just going to add a couple here at the top, and then 1, hold on, that was a little bit crooked, there. And then 1, where should we put this one? So it's a little bit hard for me to put it here because it's a little busy, but that's kind of where I want it. So you could also add it over here on the left if you'd like. So that is a really fun, beautiful card to make. And we've learned a new technique that we haven't done on this, on my channel before, using the watercolor pencils without water. And it just gives us this really beautiful coloring effect for these flowers. I hope you enjoyed learning this fun technique with me today and that you give it a try. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day. Bye!